And they used to come round at Christmas and have Christmas dinner with us.
So you must have been quite pleased when they moved up from Invercargill?
Yes, I was.
He used to spend a lot of time out in his garden shed, didn't he?
Dad, yeah.
Because he always had a bottle of whiskey hidden out there. Or he'd say to Grandma, "Oh, I'm just going out to the shed for a wee while," and then he'd walk out the door, pretend he'd gone to his shed, and then he'd sneak round the back and down the road to the commercial. And she'd never know he'd gone, because he'd just have a couple of quick ones and then sneak back into his shed again.
Yeah.
So you lived in how many houses with Grandad?
In Karkora, we had 3.
Did you buy each one?
No, we didn't buy the first 2, but it was about 12 months probably before he retired, and he said, "I think we better start looking around for a house," because it was a P&T house we were in, so we had to get out eventually. So anyway, I heard about this one on Torquay Street, and it was just round the corner from Mum and Dad's. So I went and had a look at it, and yeah, I quite liked it. And I said to him, "Oh, I've seen a house I like." I said, "Will you go and have a look at it?" So anyway, he had a look at it, and he said, "Oh, yes, all right." And he said, "I know why you want that house." And I said, "Why?" He said, "'Cause it's round the road from your mother and father." And I said, "Yeah, well, that's part of the reason." So that was all right. I could go around every day. I used to go around every day and see them, see if I could do anything for them. So I'd given up work by that time. So we bought that house. What else can you remember about it?
So how old were you when Nana stopped work, Mum?
I don't know.
So when did Grandad go to Hanna before he finished work?
To Blenheim, to dry out.
Oh, did he go to Blenheim?
He went straight after Ronnie's wedding.
Yeah, yes he did. Yeah, Ron was getting married, and Clary's bosses had been up to see me, and they said we're a bit worried about his drinking, because they said he's due to retire very shortly, and we don't want him to get the sack before he retires. So didn't know what to do about it, you know. So anyway, Ron's wedding came, it was on the weekend, and I was really worried about this. I thought, oh, probably likely lose his job. Anyway.
Was he drinking at work?
Oh yeah, well, through working hours too, yeah. So he came, anyway, Ron's wedding was on Saturday. He told Ron that he could have the car for his honeymoon for a week. Ron was going down Christchurch way. So anyway, we got through the wedding. Ron went away in the car, and on the Sunday, Clary said he was going around to Ursula's mother's.
Desi.
Going round to Desi's to see the wedding presents. And he went round there, and of course that was on a Sunday, and of course was drinking all day Sunday after the wedding, and he got up Monday morning, he was still drunk. He got up to go to work, and I said to him, "You can't go to work like that." He said, "Well, I'm going." So anyway, he went to work. He went straight up the town into the Delphi. And he wasn't there long, and I got a ring from the policeman. And he said, "I've got Clary here." He said, "I've just taken his keys." He said, "I gave him fair go over the weekend." He said, "I knew Ron was getting married, so he said, I let him go over the weekend." But he said, "Now," he said, "if I see him in the hotel today, I'll run him in." And I said, "Well, I don't care what you do with him." I was brushed off. I said, you can do what you like with me. So anyway, he, I think Terry came round, he went into the Blue Pacific, and I rang all the 4 hotels, and I said, now if any of you serve Clary today, I said, you're going to be in trouble, because I said, Mr. Snowden's going to run him in if he sees him in a hotel. So none of them would serve him, so he came home. His cobber brought him home, Ken Pittman brought him home and put him to bed, and he was no sooner in bed than Dr. Gordon came round. And I said, what are you doing here? He said, I came to see Clary, where is he? I said, he's in bed. So he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing what you've told me to do many a time when you've come round. I said, you kept saying to me, why don't you get out of it? Why do you stay here? So I said, I'm doing what you advised and I'm getting out, because I'd rung up and got a flat at the White House on the Esplanade. And so he said, well, where is he? I said, he's in bed. He said, I'll go and see him. So he went in to see him. And he said, I suppose you know your wife's leaving you. And he said, I couldn't care less what she did. And he said, well, will you go to Blenheim, to the hospital in Blenheim? He said, no. He said, I'll go to the hospital in Hanmer. And Dr. Gordon said, I don't want you to go to Hanmer. I want you to go to Blenheim. He said, no, I won't go to Blenheim. I'll go to Hanmer.
Why not?
Well, he had all his coppers in Hanmer, but he didn't know anyone in Blenheim. So anyway, he wouldn't go anywhere, so I don't know, I moved out anyway, and I went round to the White House.
With Mum and Carol?
No, Helen wouldn't come. She was working at the hospital, up at the hospital. She was on night duty. And I went in and told her I was leaving, but Carol had gone to school, and I told Carol when she came home from school to come round to the White House. So anyway, I was around there about a week, and Dr. Gordon said, I'll keep an eye on him. So anyway, about on the Thursday night, Clary's cobber came round, and he said, I was upstairs in his flat, and he said, I've got someone to see you. And I said, if it's Clary, I don't want to see him. He said, it is Clary. He said, he's going into hospital tomorrow. And I said, where? And he said, Blenheim. And I said, oh well, if he's going into hospital, I'll see him. So he came upstairs, and he just walked into the room and burst into tears. And he said, why did you do it? I said, why did I do what? He said, why did you leave me? I said, because I've been telling you for years, if you didn't give up drinking, I'd have to go. I said, you wouldn't listen. So I said, I just got to the end of my tether and I had to go. So he said, oh, I'm going into hospital. He said, will you come home? And I thought, gee, it's taken me all these years to make a break. I'm not going back that easy, you know. And I said, oh no. And he said, well, there's no point in paying for 2 houses, you know, like whether I had to pay at the flat. So he said, would you just come home and look after the place? So I decided to go home. I was only away a week and I went home. And he had 6 weeks in hospital. And Ron came home on the Saturday. Yeah, Clary went in on the Saturday. I think he went into hospital, or Friday. No, he went in the Friday. And Ron came home on the Saturday, and he came to me and he said, where's Dad? And I said, he's up in the hospital. He said, I knew you'd left home. I said, how did you know? He said, I heard it in Christchurch. he said, "But I didn't know Dad was in hospital." He said, "I haven't heard that." And I said, "Is that right?" So anyway, he said, "I'll take you up to see him tomorrow." Because he had the car, you see. So he took me up to see Clary. So Clary had 6 weeks up there. And he come home and the races come on in November. And he said to the doctor, "Could I go home? I'd like to go home for the races." And the doctor said, "Oh," he says, that won't be any good for you." He said, "Go home." He said, "You needn't worry, I won't have a drink." And he used to call Clary his star patient. He reckoned he was the best patient he had. And so anyway, Clary came home and he got off the bus. I must have got someone to drive the car up the West End so that he could drive it home. And I went and met him off the bus, and he got straight off the bus. And he said, "Do you mind if I run over to Delphi?" He said, "I'll have to go to the toilet," because he never did like travelling in buses and that, you know. And with all his drinking, it sort of weakened the bladder and that, you know. So anyway, he got off the bus and he rushed over to the Delphi. He said, "I won't have a drink, so I won't go to the toilet." And he was straight back. And it got round the town. I heard it the next day that Clary got straight off the bus and went straight into Delphi. And people were just waiting for him to, you know, to make it blue like that. So anyway, that was it. That was the end of his drinking.
And he was right after that then.
Yeah.
So it must have been really hard up until that point.
Yeah, but oh, gosh, was he bad-tempered for a while after that though? Oh, it was just like still living with an alcoholic. Do you know what I mean, Mike? You know, he was so bad-tempered with no friends came round or anything like that, but
That would be why.
they weren't friends anyway, you see.
Drinking mates.
Hey?
Drinking mates.
Yeah, just drinking mates, and of course I suppose he missed them. And it was almost as bad as living with him with his drinking days until he got used to it.
Oh, come on.
So then he retired, of course, as well. So he had more time on his hands.
Yeah.
But
But it
then,
was always
No,
very
he hadn't
interesting.
retired then.
Hey?
He hadn't retired then. He went to Ashburton after that.
Oh, that's right, he did, yes. Yeah, he could get promotion by going to Ashburton. He went to Ashburton for 12 months. He used to come home every second weekend.
so how long did he do that for? Oh, for
12
1 year.
months until he retired.
Oh, right. And then by that time, how many years had he done with the post office?
40.
It's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah. He retired the year that... Who got married? You got married.
No, he was here a year after we got married.
No, it was the year you got married because... Oh no, it was Betty. They gave Betty the car.
That's right.
Was it the year you got married?
They gave Peter the card, because he had already got rid of he'd bought that other car, the new car.
Bought a new car,
And
yeah.
he gave the,
Church when you went to Kaikoura?
Yeah. Yes, I did. Started going to the Anglican church. And then these Pentecostal people come up and they had services in the memorial centre for a while, and as soon as I went round there one time, my best friend Florence Scott lived over the road, and her girls were friendly with Carol and Helen, and Florence and I went along to one of these meetings, and she wasn't very happy with her church. And as soon as I got a taste of this Pentecostal church, I thought, that is what I want. So we both left our churches.
So why was it what you wanted?
Well, it was different somehow. The music was different, and the congregation took a part in the service. You know, it was different altogether.
So you like to be actively involved while you in
So
the service?
we both liked that church.
And so you both stayed with it?
Well, no, the chap that started it up went off to India and left us with no church. So she had already left her church, so she went to Nelson where she could carry on with it. And I just stayed in the Anglican because I hadn't left it. I stayed there till it started up properly up in Beach Road there.
Okay. Okay, do you remember any other funny stories of your time in Kaikoura?
Well, there was one time that Olive would always enjoy to joke at any time. So she said, "Well, play a joke on Dad." So she got the toilet brush with a long handle, and it was all stony. It was stony outside our place where it hadn't been concreted. And she buried the handle of the toilet brush in the stones and left the brush piece sticking up. And she went and she said, "Dad, coming out here," she said, "there's a hedgehog out here." And so he goes out and he gets, I don't know, a stick or shovel or something, and he's hitting away at this thing. And all of a sudden the handle comes up and hits him, and he was so wild that Carol and Oliver had put it across him. He thought he was hitting a hedgehog and it was a toilet brush.
And what about when Olive fed his chooks for him? And he had a flagon hidden in the wheat.
Oh yes, and another time, she thought, "Oh, I'll help Dad out." So she went and fed the fowls for him, and she threw the tin. We had a big drum of wheat, and she threw the tin in on top of this drum, and he'd hidden his bottle of beer in there, and it broke, and so anyway, she said to him, "Well, something in the drum that's broken," and he told her off a treat. He said, "Why didn't you mind your own business?" He said, "I had my bottle of beer hidden in there." Of course, all the wheat got all wet.
He always had lots of chooks, didn't he?
Yeah.
And bantams.
I can remember Bobby one time. He was a little wee fella, and we had the chooks in the run, and he chased them all into this house, and here's all these chooks all in one little space. They could hardly move round, and Bobby had put them all in there.
And didn't one of them grab one of the ducks grab Peter's finger?
I don't know, but Clary had one. He had one rooster, and it used to go for you it even used to go for Clary every time he went to feed them. So Linda and Eugene were down home. So sister Eugene went out while he was feeding the fowls. He said, "Go on into the run." And Eugene said, "What for?" And he said, "Go on in there." He said, "Take the stick with you." And Eugene said, "What do I want a stick for?" And he said, "Oh, just go on in, you'll see." So Eugene went in and Clary shut the door, shut the gate, and the rooster took to Eugene. So he knew then what he wanted the stick for. Eugene told me about it just when last time I was up there. He said, "I'll never forget that."
And you know, we used to have to go and collect the eggs of the chickens, and Granddad, the banana passion fruit and kiwi fruit had got so thick over the run that it got quite dark in there.
Yeah.
And especially where the chooks went and laid their eggs, it was completely dark. and all you could do is you had to feel around with your hands to get the chooks, to get the eggs off the chooks, and it always used to be quite scary because you thought they were going to peck you, and then you'd find a chook, and then they'd be going like this, and you thought, oh no, it's going to peck me. And he always used to have that pig's head hanging in there, didn't he?
Yeah. Yes.
And he had how many different types of fruit and veggies in the...
We counted up 24 one time, different fruits that we had.
Yeah.
There wasn't one when we went there. There wasn't a fruit tree of any description.
That was really nice in summertime when you used to go around and get all the fruit from
Get all,
the
yeah.
garden.
We had strawberries and raspberries and gooseberries and black currants and every fruit you could think of.
And in summertime, you and Grandad would send a case down to Lawrence full of fruit for us.
Yeah, occasionally, yeah.
And what about when you met my dad? When you met Mike?
Oh, we met. Oh yes, that was real funny. Helen rang up and she said, oh, I'm just ringing you to tell you we got engaged. And Clary said, oh, have you? Oh. So he said, is the mug with you? And Helen said, yes, I'm ringing from the phone box. And he said, well, put the mug on.
Had you never met Dad?
No. So anyway, Mike came to the phone and I don't know what he said to him. He spoke to him for a while. And then they were coming down home. He was coming down for Christmas. Helen was already down there. And he was coming down to meet us, you see. So anyway, the day that he came round to meet us, it was a very, very hot day. And I said to Helen, aren't you going round to meet him off the bus? And she said, no. She said, he'll find his way round here. So anyway, he had about a couple of blocks to walk when he got off the bus. So he arrived round home and everybody had come to meet Mike because nobody knew him. But Stuart had warned Mike what Clary was like, you see, so he had a good idea what to expect. So he arrived in, and we're all sitting round the table, and he said, I think we'd had lunch, and Mike only wanted a cup of tea or something. Anyway, he arrived, and there were Mum and Dad and everybody round there to meet him, you see. So anyway, he was all dressed up, he'd been on the bus, and after a while Clary says to him, well, aren't you hot? He said, with that collar and tie, what you sitting there like a pox doctor's clerk for? So anyway, Mike took his collar and that off and made a cup of tea, and after he'd had his cup of tea, he lights up a cigarette and Rod says, oh, Dad doesn't like anyone smoking while he's eating. Poor old Mike put his cigarette out. He really got a dreadful time of it. And then later on, we were having tea or something, and Mike put his hand out to take a piece of cake, and Ron said, well, we were saving that for Poor old Mike, he was frightened to open his mouth and say anything. He really got a dreadful time of it from all of them. But as I say, Stuart had warned him what they were like.
Because Ron was just as bad.
Yeah, Ron was always just as bad as his father. He still is.
He is too.
And about Carol's wedding, Carol had got engaged to Snow, and so anyway, the wedding was
Where did she meet Snow?
in Kaikoura. He was working there. And the wedding was all arranged. I'd had the wedding invitations printed. And she said to me, I'm going away for a few days before before the wedding. So she went away for 2 or 3 days, and in the meantime the wedding invitations arrived. So I put them in her room, and then she arrived home, and then that night Snow came round, and she wouldn't talk to him or have much to do with him. And I thought, what on earth's the matter with her? So anyway, she was acting quite funny. So anyway, Snow said something to me, and I said, I don't know what's the matter with her. And so after a while she came to me and she said, would you send Snow home? And she said, I want to go to bed. And I said, well, you tell her to go home. So anyway, I said to Snow, well, I don't know what's the matter with her. I said, but you better go home anyway and see her tomorrow. So anyway, he went home, and she came to me and she said, I don't think I want to get married. And I said, oh. She said, well, I don't know what to do now. She said, you've got the invitations. And I said, well, why don't you want to get married? And she said, well, I've just been away for a few days. And she said, no, I didn't even miss him. She said, I shouldn't feel like that, should I? And I said, no, you shouldn't really. So she said, I don't really want to get married. So I said, oh, well, if that's the case, you're not going to get married. I said, you can't get married if you don't feel like it. So anyway, she said, well, what about the invitations? I said, well, it doesn't matter about them. So anyway, that was that. So I said, don't what Father will say. So anyway, I told Clary, I went to bed that night, he was furious. He said, she's not making a fool of us like that. And I said, well, it's no good her marrying him if she doesn't want to. I said, because it won't turn out any good. So we had to leave it at that. So she had to tell Snow the next day that she didn't want to get married. I had to ring up the minister, tell him that the wedding was off. So that was that. So this went on for about a week or so, and then we're driving along from town one day, and she saw Snow's truck outside the shop, and she said, oh, stop here a minute. She said, I'm just going into that shop. I said, you're not going to see Snow, are you? And she said, yes. She said, I do want to get married after all.
No, she saw his car outside another girl's place. Outside Susie Squire's house.
Oh, was that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, she saw it, she pulled up and she went in, yeah. So anyway, she went and saw him, and she said, oh, Snow, I want to come back to you. He said, well, I've only been waiting for you, love. So that was that. So the wedding was on again. So Helen said, you needn't think I'm going back. You'd bought something.
We were on holiday in Kaikoura, and I said, well, you've got to get married while we're down here. That's what we came down here for.
Oh, that's right.
So we organised the wedding in about 4 days before we went back to Auckland.
And I had to ring the minister up and say, can you rush this wedding through? And he said, oh yes, he said, I can. So we had to rush the wedding through. And Betty rang, she said, well, I can't come down now, we've gone and spent the money. So she said, we'll have to leave it. So that was all right.
And hadn't you ordered all the alcohol as well?
Probably we had.
And you had to.
Yeah, it was all at home. And then when she broke the engagement off, we had a big party and drank it all.
That's right, we'd bought it. We'd bought all the alcohol. Yeah, and then she put the party off, so she put the wedding off. So we decided, well, we had all this alcohol, we might as well drink it. So that's what we did. We had an evening and we were drinking this alcohol, weren't we?
Yeah.
And then she goes and puts it on again. And what else can I tell her about that? I had to ring the minister up, and he said yes, he'd rush it. Oh, I know, rush it through. So anyway, the wedding came, and Betty had rung through, and they'd got a ride in a little wee plane, and it was to landing down at the airport, Kaikoura Aerodrome, which is only a little wee place, you see. And Betty's boss had said to her, I know you want to go to this wedding. He said, you won't be happy if you miss it. He said, you better go. So she had to talk Stuart into going the night before, and Stuart didn't want to go on a little wee plane like that. So she said she had to ply him up with liquor so that he would promise to go the next day on this little wee plane.
It was Bet's bosses, and it was only a 4-seater.
Yeah, and they get on the plane, and Stuart says, what's that axe doing down there? And the pilot said, well, that's in case we come down in trees and scrub and that. That's to dig our way out. Anyway, they landed at this little white plane, and Ron had to go and pick them up. Ron was in the know, but he didn't tell me anything about it because Betty said, don't tell Mum, because if the weather's not good, we won't be able to come. So we get to the church, and we're sitting in church, and Olive says, Mum, there's Betty and Stuart behind us. And I said, don't tell lies, Olive. I said, you know they couldn't come down. She said, Mum, they are here. So I turned round and Betty went. I couldn't believe it. I'd been sitting in church thinking, oh, if only Betty and Stuart had been here, that would have made my day. And they were there all the time, and I didn't even know it. So everything went off all right, after all, after the wedding being cancelled.
And then they ended up having Tara and Shane. Did they moved to Auckland after that, did they?
Oh yes, that was another thing. They had about a couple of years in Kaikoura, I think, and then they decided they'd go to Auckland for a holiday. And I said to Clary, I said, if they go up to Auckland, that'll be the finish. They want to shift up. He said, oh, I hope not. I said, I bet they do. So anyway, they went up to Auckland, and we're already up there. We'd gone to Gisborne to stay with his auntie and uncle in Gisborne. And
Who was that? Who was that?
Auntie Rona and Uncle Harry. They had the Gisborne hotel in Gisborne, and we were staying with them. And Carol and Snow were going to call in on the Monday, and they arrived on the Saturday, and I didn't know that. There was a knock at the bedroom door, and I was in my bedroom, and there stood Carol, and I said, oh, what are you doing here? I weren't expecting you till Monday. She said, I know, but we're going home to pack up. I said, you're not shifting? She said, yeah, we're shifting to Auckland. I said, I knew it. I said, I knew you would. So anyway, she said, where's Dad? And I said, he's down watching the football with Uncle Harry. So I said, he's going to be wild. She said, I know. She said, I don't like telling him. So anyway, she went down and she told Clary they were moving up to Auckland, and he wouldn't speak to her. Wouldn't speak to her all afternoon. Oh, he was so annoyed.
He's upset losing her.
Yeah, so they shifted up to Auckland.
Oh, so then you had 3 daughters in Auckland, didn't you?
Yeah,
So you used to drive up there quite a lot.
yeah, we used to go up quite a lot.
That must have taken a long time to drive up there.
We used to leave home about 6 o'clock, because Clary would always leave in plenty of time in case she got a puncture. And we used to leave at 6 o'clock and get the boat at 11 o'clock. And we'd get off the boat at Wellington. We'd start driving straight away, and we were generally in Auckland by about 3 or 3:30.
Wow.
And every time we went, he used to kill a lot of fowls and ducks and things, and we'd freeze them, and crayfish, and we'd have the boot all full with crayfish and fowls and ducks and that to take through to Auckland. And once we got a puncture, and we had to unload all the stuff to get at the suitcases which were underneath. But anyway, we still got there in time.
And then you used to drive down to Lawrence as well?
Yeah.
So how did Ron meet Ursula?
Well, she lived in Kaikoura, so of course he met her. And then he started going with Ursula, and then after they'd been going together about a year, I suppose, and he decided to go to Auckland because he wanted more experience. And he got experience in Auckland that he would never have got in Kaikoura. And so anyway, he went up to Auckland for 12 months.
So tell us about your driving lessons and why you didn't get your driver's license, Nana.
Well, I didn't worry about it too much. I went to Christchurch, and I was staying with my sister-in-law, and I thought to myself, I might take driving lessons. She was a racing driver.
Who's that?
June, Auntie June.
Who's she married
She
to?
married Bruce,
Oh, right.
his first wife.
And she was a racing driver?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
She always wore
so
black
anyway, I
leather
thought I
gloves.
might take some driving lessons. So I had a week of them, and I think it was a lady who used to give me these lessons, of an hour a day, I think it was. And she said, "Oh, you're doing all right." She said, "Now when you get home, take the car out. Take it out every day." Thank you. And so when I got home, I said to Clary, "Oh, I had some driving lessons in town." He said, "Oh, good." He said, "You'll be able to take the car to work." So the next day was Sunday, and I was working at the Delphi. So anyway, I said, "Would you put the car out for me, out of the drive?" So he put the car out, and so anyway, he went back to bed, and I said, "Do you think I'll be all right?" And he said, "You can only put it in the bloody Lyle Creek." So I thought, well, that's very helpful. So I got into the car and away I went. But when I got to the Garden of Memories, it was, you went round a bend and that, and I thought, oh, I don't think I'll take it right into town. I'll leave it here. So I left it outside the Garden of Memories and shut and locked it up and went to work. Of course, there was no traffic on the road at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. So when I came out at 2 o'clock, and I had to walk right up to the Garden of Memories to get the car, and I thought, I went to get in and it was roasting hot. Been sitting in the sun. So anyway, I got in and I started driving home, and I thought, now I'm living on the Esplanade, I've got to come in on the right side. So I thought I'll turn the car, I'll go round the school corner and round Torquay Street, and then it'll bring it round onto its right side, right in front of the house. Anyway, when I got to the school corner, there was a car following me, so I thought, no, I'll go straight on. So I went straight on. I thought I'd go round the White House corner. I got to the end, the car was still following me, so I thought, blow it. I won't go round the corner, I'll go straight on. So I went straight on, pulled up outside the house, but on the other side. And I went inside and I said, "Clary, you can get the car, I don't want it anymore." And he said, "Why?" I said, "No." I said, "I don't think I want to drive it." So that was it. So I never bothered driving it again.
Did he ever try and help you while...
Oh, he had taken me for 1 or 2 lessons, but it didn't work out very well. And Ron took me one time. He said, "Oh, I'll take you for a lesson." So anyway, he took me. So I'm going up through the town. He said, "Keep to the left, Mum, keep to the left." And I said, "Okay." So we're going through the town and down past the Delphi, and I'm keeping to the left, as he told me. He said, "Gee, you nearly collected that car." I said, "You told me to keep to the left." So anyway, on we went. So we get to the Hapuka Bridge, and we're going over the bridge, and he said, I just drove over the bridge and he said, oh, here's a traffic cop. And I thought, oh, he's just trying to scare me. So I took no notice. Over the bridge I went, got to the end of the bridge. Don't know what I did. He said I cut the corner right in front of the traffic cop. Anyway, that was a finish. Ron didn't take me for any more lessons. Clary didn't take me for any more lessons, so I decided I didn't want to learn anyway.
I can remember Annie O'Donnell took you out one day
Yeah.
and you were backing out the drive. And you never used to swear, but Carol and I were in the back seat and I don't know what we were doing, but I remember you saying, well, you bloody kids, shut up.
That's quite true. Annie O'Donnell was taking me for a drive and these kids were at the back and they said, oh, I'm backing it out, you see. Oh, so, yeah, I did say, you bloody kids, if you don't shut up, you can get out. Anyway, she took me and anyway, there was a car coming and I said to her, do you think I can get round before that car comes? So I shot round up in front of it. And she said, I'm sorry. She said, she's just a learner. So that was the extent of my learning to drive.
Yeah. And we were talking before about how many grandkids you've got now, Nana. How many is that? And great-grandchildren?
16 grandchildren and 28 grandchildren.
Wow.
Yeah. And still you to go. And Michael to go.
You might be waiting a while.
Yeah.
Chris and Tim.
Yeah, 4 of us. So you're the result of all those people.
Yes, Clary and I.
Yeah.
But
Result of all
your
those
stars
people.
might come true.
What's that?
I said her stars might come true.
Yes, they might.
Have you read my stuff?
Yeah. Helen read it to me yesterday.
Oh, sounds like she's pretty wishful, isn't she, Nana?
Yes. Oh, you
So-
never know.
With Granddad and his cancer, when did you realise that he had cancer? Or how did you realise?
Well, I was never surprised because his mother died of cancer and her sister died of cancer, and I knew it was in the family, and it didn't surprise me one bit. And when I could see him failing, could see him getting thinner and thinner, and he wasn't eating the same. He'd say, don't give me much tea. And I'd say, look, is it because you can't eat or because you don't want to eat? And he said, it's because I can't eat, because he said, I can't keep it down.
Was he starting to vomit? Or?
Yeah, well, he'd always done that. He'd done that for years, but I don't think that had any bearing on the case. Anyway, I could see he was failing. I could see he was getting thinner and not eating. And I said to him, look, I said, I want you to go to the doctor. So he went to the doctor. And I said to Dr. Weber, he saw him on the Friday and he said, I'll come back on the Monday. And by the time he came back on the Monday, I said to Dr. Weber, I would like him to go to a specialist. And he said, yes. He said, well, I've been thinking that. But he said, he's got so much wrong with him that I don't know which specialist to send him to.
Really?
And I said, well, I would like him to see a specialist. So anyway, he went down. I can't remember that part of him going down to the specialist. But I can remember that he was supposed to go into hospital. And I said to Dr. Weber, can he go into Princess Margaret Hospital? And he said he'll go into whichever hospital I think is best for him. And I said, well, I've got a daughter who works in Princess Margaret, that's why I'd like him to go there. So anyway, he went to Princess Margaret. And Sam and Sweetie took him down. And I think it must have been the most painful trip for him, because we called in here at Amberley and had a cup of tea with Helen, and he was on edge all the time. He just couldn't get comfortable, no matter what they did for him. He couldn't get comfortable in the car. And he seemed, when we called in here, he seemed as if he wanted to get on the way and get there. So anyway, we got there and he had about 2 hours to wait before he saw a doctor. And they finally admitted him, and then I can't remember, I probably stayed down, but Sam Sweetie turned round and went straight home again. They only came down to take him into hospital. And he was in there about a month. And then he was going back.
So did they diagnose him then?
Huh?
Did they diagnose him then?
Yes.
Was
I'll never forget the morning they told him he had cancer. Olive was telling me, he said to her, why did I have to have that? Why couldn't it have been a heart attack? Why couldn't it have been something else? Why did it have to be that?
But also, Olive asked them not to tell him until the family were there with him, and this young doctor just went to and told him. Because Olive went and complained to the specialist and said, you know, I especially asked that family be there. Because we knew he had a real fear of cancer. And
You knew what, Helen?
he was quite scared of having cancer, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And Olive asked the doctor not to tell him until the family were all there to be with him, and this young doctor just went and told him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also they said that they'd never ever seen such an advanced case of cancer, you know, before you actually found out you had it.
So he'd been hiding it for a long time.
Yeah, I thought for a long time that he had it, but I didn't say anything. And then I was staying with Olive, and I think we went to Joanne's, and either Olive was at work and I was at Joanne's, that's right, and we were going to see Clary after lunch, and Olive got the news, didn't she, and she rang you, Helen?
Yeah.
And Helen said, oh, I'll come in with you while you tell Mum. And so Helen came in from Amberley, and they came out and told me, but I knew as soon as they walked in what they were going to say. And they said that he had cancer. And he'd had about a month in Princess Margaret. And then they were going to take him home, put him in Kaikoura. No, they were going to send him home. And it was going to cost, I forget how much, quite a lot of money for the St John's ambulance. And his doctor said to Olive, oh, you're not paying that. They said, we can get over that by sending him to hospital in Kaikoura. Instead of sending him straight home, send him to the hospital and have a couple of days up there and then home.
Oh, that was nice of them.
Yeah, so then I didn't have to pay for the ambulance to go right to Kaikoura.
Oh, good. And then by this time he'd had chemo, hadn't he?
No.
Did he not have chemo?
No. They only gave him radiation, and that
radiation.
was simply to open the esophagus a little bit so that he could eat.
Oh, right. And I remember going to visit a Nana, and he was holding your hand, and he was saying sorry to you.
Oh, yeah.
He was saying sorry about a lot of the hassles he'd given you.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I didn't know about his history then, and I didn't understand why he was saying sorry.
Yeah. Who's that?
So you had about a month at home,
Yeah.
and it was quite bad and
He was
widespread.
in bed all the time, but he was mobile right up till the last, couple of days. He was able to get up and go to the toilet by himself.
That was good for his dignity, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so he basically knew he was going to die on the Monday, didn't he?
Oh, I'm sure he did, because he he upset Jackie. Jackie and Jim were in town with the children in Christchurch, and they came up and they called in on their way home, and he said to them, when are you going home? And they said, oh, we're going to have a bit of tea with Mum, and then we're going home. And he said, this was Friday night, he said, if you stay till Monday, he said, you'll be here for the funeral. Jackie burst into tears and rushed outside. And Olive came in and she said, oh well, she said, we had a win off Uncle Ham's horse. And she said, we'll go up on Monday and buy you some oysters. And he said, you can save your money, you won't be here.
Who said that?
Clary.
And so he had you with him, Carol, Ham. Was it just you?
Carol and Ham and
Olive, I thought.
Olive and Ray.
They were all there with him.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I rang Ron the night, on the last night he was home. I cooked corned beef because I was expecting a ham and them for tea, and I had all the others. So I cooked corned beef, and he said to me, what are you cooking? And I said, corned beef. He said, I could smell it all afternoon. He said, well, I'm going to have a good feed of it tonight. He said, I don't want it all mashed up like baby food. He said, I want a proper meal. So I said, okay, and he ate every bit, and that was the last meal he had.
Oh, really?
And that night we went to bed, and the doctor had been there in the morning and put a catheter in so that he didn't have to get up and go to the toilet. And before I went to sleep, I said, now you realise you've got a catheter in, you don't have to get up to the toilet. He said, yes, okay. So we went off to sleep, and something woke me. And I woke up with a start, and I put my hand over, and he wasn't in the bed. And I got a fright, I put the light on, and he was lying on the floor. And I think he must have got out of bed to go to the toilet and fallen. And I rushed out, and Olive and Ray were in the sleep out, and I rushed out and got Olive. And she came in, and we helped get him back into bed. And I felt him, and I thought, I wonder how long he's been lying there. But he wasn't cold, so I knew he hadn't been there long. And I said to him, do you feel cold? And he said, yes, my feet are cold. And Olive got him a hot water bottle. And we got him back into bed, and I said, we better ring Ron. So we rang Ron. I realised that the fall had woken me up.
Yeah.
And Ron said, well, have you got him back in bed? We said, yes. So he said, well, there's not much point in me coming down. I can't do anything. And I said, no, that's quite true. So anyway, Carol said to me, now she said, you go and get into my bed. And I said, no, I'll stay here. She said, no, you won't. She said, you go back and get into my bed. Because I hadn't had much sleep the night before with him. And she said, no, I'll stay here with him. So I got into her bed, but I couldn't sleep. And I wanted, kept thinking, oh, I can't get to sleep. So I got up, and she was wandering around in the hall. And I said, what's the matter, Carol? She said, I don't know, but I don't like the look of him. So she said, I'm going to get Olive. So she got Olive, and they decided to get the doctor. So Carol rang the doctor, and he sort of hummed and hawed, and he said, well, I saw him this morning at 8 o'clock. And he said, oh, well, I'll come, Carol. So she rang Ron, and the doctor came, and as soon as he walked in the door, he said, oh, he's on the way out. He said, it's too late to ring anybody. So, but Carol had been ringing you, hadn't she, Helen?
Yeah.
And so anyway, by this time Ron was down there, and he said, I'll just go to the hospital and get something to help his breathing, but he said, I may not get back in time. And with that he went, and I said to Ron, we better wake Uncle Ham up. So we woke Ham up, told him, and he said, oh, that can't be right. He said he was as good as gold when I went to bed. I said, I know, but he said, that's what the doctor said. So anyway, he said, okay, so he got up, put a dressing gown on, and he came out. And after a few minutes, the doctor arrived. Oh, just before the doctor arrived back, Clary gave a big sigh, and that was it. Olive was sitting there holding his hand with tears running down her face. And he gave a big sigh, and he was gone. And the doctor walked in, and he said, "When did it happen?" And Olive said, "Just now, as you walked in." And that was it, and he went quite peacefully.
Yeah, that does sound like a really peaceful death, and so nice for him to have everyone around him.
Yes, it was lovely.
Yes.
So I had one very happy memory that I've always kept with me, and this was probably 2 or 3 months before he died, and he said to me, he said, "I don't know what it is, Gwen," he said, "about you, but he said, I just love you more and more every day." And I said, "Don't you know what it is?" And he said, "No." He said, "But I love it." And I said, "Well, that's Jesus in me, coming out of me." And he said, "Well, I don't know what it is," but he said, "I love it." He said, "And I think more and more of you each day." And that was a beautiful memory to have, wasn't it?
Wow, especially after 50 years.
Yeah,
Or more than
because
50 years, wasn't it?
because probably the last 5, 6 years were the happiest we'd ever had.
Really? Wow, that's amazing, Nana.
Yeah. But I can remember going into the church one day. I was walking home. It was just when I was at my lowest, when Clary was drinking at the most, and I was at my very lowest. And I thought, can I carry on like this? And I was walking home, and the church door was open. And I thought, I'll go in here and see if I can find God. And I walked in and knelt down. The church was absolutely empty. And I just stayed there and I prayed, and I came out, and I didn't feel any different. And I thought, no, God wasn't there. But about a week after, I got a ring from a lady, and she said, "You don't know me," but she said, "I think I can help you." And she said, "Could I come and see you?" And I said, "Anyone that can help me is welcome to come and see me." And she came, and she was an alcoholic. And anyway, she said she was going to start this start the meetings, the alcoholic meetings. And she started them up. And then shortly after that, Clary went to Blenheim and was dried out. He was up there for 6 weeks and got dried out. And that's how the Alcoholics Anonymous started in Kaikoura.
Oh, really?
And she came to see me. I couldn't go to those meetings.